an extent?
It's been full of ups and downs. Nigerians don't read. I dare to disagree because we're 16k followers strong on our Instagram account, on other platforms as well. We also have a huge following. So if at all people are not interested in books in Nigeria, we don't have people follow in the first place. And it's so exciting to find out that there are so many people outside of Lagos in deep core parts of Nigeria that buying and shopping for us, and they are just so excited that this book is locally available and it's sort of like within reach for them. So it's been exciting. It could be better, but again, we do it for the culture, you do it for the passion, and hopefully more stakeholders get interested in it, and it gets better. I got into selling books because I was very passionate about it, and then I was hungry to find other people like me. I wanted to connect with them, and the kind of books that fascinated me were not, I could hardly find people around who were excited about them as well. So at the time, when I interact with people within my age range, they're either talking about some foreign authors that write books outside of the context that I'm familiar with. So I wanted to meet with other young people, other people of like minds who were excited about the kind of books that I liked. And that was basically how it all begun. And then beyond that also, I definitely used to go to some website online to find out what books are first to reckon with internationally. And then most of those books are not available locally, so I had to either shop from some big names out there. And then I thought, if these books are available and people are actually talking about them, reviewing them, perhaps there might be young people or people in Nigeria as well that would really want to read about them. So I end up bringing a few copies, see if I can circulate within my circle, publicize, use social media, and see how far it goes. And so that was how it all started.
It's actually more like one of the out of inspiration, and then the drive to bring books closer to people, because at some points that I loved reading, I found it hard getting the kind of books I really always wanted to read. So it was like, you could get this for other people, and then it's been there for me. So I'm having fun doing what I'm doing, and I'm the fact that I can have access to books too as a bookseller is fantastic for me. Yeah, it's been profitable. It's how you do the business that makes it profitable for you. So it's been profitable. It may not be the best of the businesses in the country or in the world, especially maybe in this part of the world, knowing fully well the attitude to reading and education generally, and then even government's attitude to education, So, but still, there are still people who know that without education, they wouldn't be where they are. And then even if they are not educated, they get the best of educated people to work for them. So that means education, which comes through reading of books, is a key and vital role in this life.
It has enhanced reading, but what I realize is that even for those who normally would not like to buy a Bible before, because of the ability to read their Bibles from their phones. A lot of people are beginning to dump reading Bibles on their phones with buying regular Bibles, because they've seen the importance of having to carry a Bible or read a hard copy Bible. When people read from their phones, most times they can't easily go back or even highlight certain things. But with the hard copy Bible, they are able to do some highlighting, go back, make references and all that. So technology, to an extent, it has its own advantage and its own disadvantage to our business. Advantages are the fact that people could, read at any time they want to, in the dark, wherever. But disadvantage is the fact that it's handy, when you have your books on your media, electronic media. But for those who still cherish the hard copy books, they still come back, to pick up the hard copy books from us. A lot of Nigerians are writing more, because virtually on a daily basis we get new books from Nigerian writers, asking that Latana should carry their books. It's a bit challenging, but at the same time we try to encourage them, to review their books and then accept it for display on our shelves.
we still battle with issues of piracy. There are times where royalties are not paid the way they are supposed to. Publishing houses don't put enough effort to promoting books the way they are supposed to. So that way books, and people are not even aware that some Nigerian authors are writing really, really good books. I think sometimes more books written by Nigerian authors are sort of like accepted in the Western world better than they are locally. And also, in terms of marketing, publicity, locally, more effort still needs to be put in place to help us combat issues of piracy, and then ensure that people are more able to access so many of these books as well locally.
For book lovers, I say keep reading because you know already what you are gaining from reading. And then for governments, give more allocation to education. Allocation to education is very important, and you can't have a government that just places less emphasis on education, and every year you expect your people to be better, and then there are fightings. Any small thing, any little thing, there's fights, and it's all because of the level of exposure and education of the people, and it's playing a role in every facet of the economy, every facet of the society, because people are not well enlightened about their rights, about the opportunities that they can actually get, and many of those things come in through parts of education, and reading is part of it.
Regulation exists to protect workers, public safety, businesses and investments.
I feel there is a lot of power and influence that the SMEs have.
I say this with every sense of respect. Most of the people making policies for us as a nation have never run a business before.
We need to find a way to create jobs. It's almost turning into an epidemic.
We need to have a holistic strategy towards dealing with growing that sector.
We need to go back to the farm, it's fine. But then we need to invest in productivity. We can't be farming the same way we were doing 1982
exactly.
2020.
There's a very robust ecosystem around agribusiness now. But what has happened is there are not enough people, right, who understand how they can take advantage of those opportunities.
Country people, we dey thank una one that joined us on top News on the Hour for Plus TV Africa.
This na number 63 Massey Street for Itafaji, where building just collapsed by 10 a.m. this morning.
They say the Oga of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, don't tell federal government say if they provoke him, it go cause wahala for inside the country.
Because if the British citizen no be say you go enter Nigeria, come cause kasala, run go Britain, go stay in peace.
Them say na the diesel truck catch fire as they try offload the diesel way dey inside. Come out, fire department come try quench the fire.
For the first time for Nigeria, every go enjoy television news for Ogbonge Pidgin English.
For more tori, make una kukuma follow us at Plus TV Africa on top Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Make una subscribe to our YouTube page and for Star Times on channel 308.
Welcome to Tea Time on Plus TV Africa, where we bring you the biggest entertainment stories and, of course, analyze them for you.
You can have both parents and still end up as a useless child. I see them every day.
Most times I worry more about where I'm coming from and where I am now, and that determines my next step.
Why are you sounding like
Alibaba
now?
Plus TV Africa, we're feeling good. No time to dull, everybody feeling alright.
Still make music and people are still buying. Sometimes I look myself minimal IU.
Akpala music is for mature-minded people. I got DMs sometimes from Malawi, like,
Sleeping early.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am
November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's Tea Time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Thank you for joining us on Plus TV Africa News on the Hour, where we unbundle the top and big stories of the day. I am Amaka Okoye, and big stories for the day are the Social Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, and 192 concerned Nigerians have filed a lawsuit asking the Federal High Court in Abuja to restrain and stop Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and all members of the House from spending an estimated 5.04 billion naira to buy 400 exotic cars for principal officers and members. SERAP is also seeking a court order to restrain and stop the National Assembly Service Commission from releasing any public funds to the House of Representatives to buy 400 Toyota Camry 2020 model cars, estimated to cost $35,130 each, until an impact assessment of the spending on access to public services and goods like education, security, health, and clean water is carried out. On the 5th February, the House of Representatives passed a resolution that 400 Toyota Camry 2020 cars be purchased as official vehicles for 360 members and other persons, including top management staff, chief of staff to the 2 presiding officers, as well as some of their special advisors and assistants. In a statement on Sunday by Oluwari, who is also Deputy Director of SERAP, the plaintiffs also maintained that it is illegal and unconstitutional for members of the House of Representatives to choose to buy expensive and exotic cars while encouraging Nigerians to tighten their belts and to patronize Nigerian brands. Still on national matters, Boko Haram terrorists on Friday invaded Garkida town located in Gombe local government area of Adamawa state. Sources from the town said the insurgents arrived around 7 p.m. from Chibok and Kwaya Kusar communities, setting houses ablaze and killing many persons, while others escaped from the town, sustaining injuries as they fled into the mountains. The Adamawa State Commissioner of Police, Audu Madaki, while confirming the incident, said about 7 trucks of anti-terrorism police personnel have been mobilized to reclaim the town. Military sources attached to the Nigerian Army 23 Armored Brigade also confirmed that at 8 p.m. last night, personnel from Mubi were being mobilized to the town. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has condemned Boko Haram attack on Garkida in Adamawa State and extended his sympathy to families of the victims. In a statement by his spokesman Malam Garba Shehu in Abuja on Sunday, the president said that no part of Nigeria would be abandoned to their fate. He said, and I quote, "These attacks on soft targets by the terrorists are obvious signs of frustration because my administration has significantly weakened Boko Haram's military capability to invade and hold Nigerian territory unchallenged." According to him, since the inception of his administration, Boko Haram's ability to invade and occupy Nigerian territories had been frustrated. Buhari assured that in the coming weeks, Nigerians would witness an aggressive campaign to defeat Boko Haram once and for all. Now, also, a former Vice President Atiku Abubakar on Saturday condemned the attack carried out by Boko Haram insurgents in Garkida, Adamawa. In his verified personal Twitter handle, the 2019 presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party also condoled with the affected families in Garkida. He tweeted, and I read, "The attack by Boko Haram against lives and properties of innocent Nigerians is unbecoming. My prayers are with the people of Garkida in my home state of Adamawa over the cowardly attack that happened over the weekend. May God give the affected families fortitude to bear the loss." And former Nigerian head of state and national chairman of Nigeria Praise, General Yakubu Gowon, retired on Sunday, led the group in a prayer rally for peace to reign in the Northeast Zone and Nigeria at large. Speaking during the one-day prayer rally organized by Nigeria Praise, Northeast Zone held in Bauchi with the theme, "The Lord of Hosts is with us," Gowon said the purpose of the prayer rally was to fervently intercede for the country, most especially in these troubling times. He said the group from all the northern eastern zone gathered in Bauchi in absolute submission to God in order to pray for God's mercies and blessings on Nigeria. According to Gowon, this is to appease the political, social, and economic well-being of Bauchi State and the entire Northeast Zone as they grapple with issues of terrorism, insurgencies, and various kinds of insecurity and criminality. Now, former Director, Legal and Public Affairs of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Samuel Kwamkur, has expressed concerns over the silence of the federal government towards the threat on President Muhammadu Buhari by the Boko Haram commander Abubakar Shekau. The threat was also issued to the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Isa Ibrahim Pantami. Kwamkur expressed his worry in an interview before the expiration of his tenure on Friday. He said, and I quote, "It is truly sad but not surprising that the Boko Haram commander Abubakar Shekau will release a video threatening to attack the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, and the Honorable Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Isa Ibrahim Pantami." And still joining us live now in the studio to take a look at the Boko Haram attack in Adamawa is a security expert, Dixon Osaji, and also Bashir Babayola, who is the chairman, Nigerian Legion, Adamawa State. He will be speaking with us via phone shortly. Good morning, Osaji. It's good to have you here.
Thank you, Amaka. How are you doing today?
I'm good today. Again, we are here talking about security challenges and the issues that face us as a nation. Now, over the weekend, we heard about the attacks. Okay. And you listened to the news and you heard the president saying that in the coming weeks, he's assuring Nigerians that we're going to see a defeat of this Boko Haram in entirety, as he claims. Do you think this is an over-ambitious statement to make?
Well, he gave us that statement sometimes in 2015 when he came into power. He said in the next 3 months he's going to decimate Boko Haram. And we did actually saw what the government did. Before then, Boko Haram were holding about 17 territories. And I think as of now, I don't think they are holding up to 1 or 2 territories, except those territories in the northeast, which the military are unable to advance to pierce through the enemy. On the attack on the Garkida community, it's a really worrisome situation, and Nigerian lives matters. Until we begin to place values on human lives, we'll continue to see the spate of insecurity. Boko Haram have a systematic way of operation. They have their own political strategies, and they have their own tactical operational strategies. Now, in their own political strategy, they are population-centric in their own political strategy, in the sense that they want to instill fear on the populace, they want to subvert the citizens, and they also want to coerce the citizens to believe their campaign. So what is happening now is a clear form of intimidation, because one of the process in which terrorists get at government is to intimidate. I keep saying it every time that until government begins to see themselves as the primary victim of terrorist attacks. In counter-insurgency, people who are attacked by criminal elements of Boko Haram or insurgents are not the primary victims. They are just the direct victims. But the real victim here is the government, because those insurgents that carry out the Garkida attack, they don't have any business with those communities. The community never offended them. They just try to pass a message to the government. So until the government begins to see themselves as a victim of terrorist attack, they will not put in strategies in place to curtail these guys, because it takes a level of advance to get into a community. Garkida shares a boundary with Sambisa Forest, and a system whereby some criminal elements will take an advancing process. We'll talk about advance. It's just for you to architectures and security applications in place.
All right. Thank you. Not to cut you short, I just want to, again, take you back. This means he's alive somewhere, somehow. If he would be able to threaten the president of the nation, are we on the siege, really?
I'm not surprised receiving such, hearing such a threat statement from Abubakar Shekau. The president is a citizen of this country. You and I are citizens also. A lot of people have died in action, so I don't see a big deal for the terrorist guy to threaten the president. Nigerian lives has been threatened. Nigerian life has been maimed, destroyed by this criminal element. Now they're taking it to the elites, and you know, sometimes people used to say that if an incident affects the non-elites, you know, government don't seem to take it serious. Until it affects the elites, that's when government takes it serious. Well, you know, when terrorists threatens any actions, you don't take that threat, you know, lightly. Yeah, because they don't give empty threats. When they threaten, they carry out their threat because they want to maintain their political strategies. You understand? So the president himself has received this threat. What I expected the president to do now is to ensure a full-blown military action on these guys, and the other agencies that are not doing so well in this fight is the police. The military have done so well for this country. The army, the navy have done so well. The air force have done so well. It's just that the war against the terrorists was not well planned. Because when it started earlier on, they were so quick to project the military. The military is our last hope of defense. You know, when you are playing card or maybe you are having a game, you don't bring in your best card, you know. You need to reserve it. But in this fight against Boko Haram, the military thought, the government thought they were going to eliminate these guys, and they projected the military. Because in counter-insurgency, you need to take over the territory, hold the territory, and rebuild. Like in Karikida now.
I'll ask you to hold your thoughts for a second as you're talking about Karikida. I understand that our next guest is live now. He is there at Adamawa. Good morning. Can you hear me? Bashir.
I'm hearing you.
All right. Thank you for joining us. Please bring us up to speed with the situation in Adamawa as it is now.
Well, in fact, the situation in Adamawa concerning the insecurity, in fact, is not something to write home about it. In fact, this issue of insurgencies, people wonder how this thing has been, you know, carried out successfully by the insurgency. Sometimes you will see that when our security men are around, you know, nothing will happen. Immediately, they either move somewhere or maybe they are trying to check another place. These people will strike immediately. And they will successfully, you know, carry out their operation before, you know, information get to our security men. And by then, they have already caused havoc in that place. I don't know what actually is happening. Is it the information intelligence gathering that people like? Because it will happen within a short period and they will succeed in their operation before our people come to understand that, yes, something is happening in social place. This is the problem that people wonder what actually is happening with this security in our place. All this is happening is that our security men will be around that area. Immediately within 10 or 15 minutes that they left that place, this thing will come up. You know, people wonder whether our people are not getting the, you know, the intelligent information gathering in time, or I don't know what is happening really with this information gathering. So people wonder whether it's political or something. Nobody can even tell what really is happening in our state. You know, it happens around January, then recently, last week again, it happens. So really people wonder how this thing is happening currently without even the knowledge of our security men in the place. The community in that place, it seems to be these people, I don't know whether they are aware of all what is happening. And they don't want to cooperate with the security. I cannot even tell what is happening. This is something that actually people wonder how this is happening.
That over time you've seen this kind of almost, let's say, coordinated and calculated attacks, but there are not enough response. Is that what it means?
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. You see, they will coordinate and then make sure that they succeed before our people, security may come to got to understand that actually there is insecurity in social place. And by then they have already caused that havoc and run away.
All right, having said that, what have you been able to do as a community if you're not getting the intervention that we should get from appropriate quarters, so to speak?
You see, really the problem we're having here is that communication problem. You know, you don't know whom to communicate to, because actually some areas you hardly get in contact with the security men that this is why it's happening in so place. So I think this is one of the problem. Mostly we sometimes that mostly as I'm talking to you, I'm a retired military personnel. We have I am the chairman of the Nigerian Legion Adamawa State chapter anyway, and we have all our men in the all areas, this area council. But hardly you can get to communicate with authority that you will be telling them this is why it's happening, and we are not carried along. So actually, this is why the problem lies.
All right. We have also seen the president has come out to say, condole with the people, your own people particularly, over the attack. But the question is this enough? What are those practical issues that you would think will be the solutions to this issue on ground?
You see, really, yes, it's normal. The president actually condole with the people, and it's normal. That's how it's supposed to be. What is happening is that actually we have to, look at it and then really go back to God. Let's pray to God, because really what is happening now is something that you cannot predict that this is what is happening. I could remember, 70s ago when one of our senior officers went on diplomatic course in UK. When he came back, he was interviewed at the airport. What came to his mind was that Nigeria is sick. I think that what could have been now, not that time, because really seems to be this country is sick. So something has to be, to be done, because really the country is not all that well now. So I don't know how I can even put it, because really everywhere, everybody knows, on his marks, waiting to move. So really I cannot even tell what is happening.
All right, hold your thoughts there. I'm still with an expert in the studio. Saji, you can hear the frustration from him there as a resident. What are we not doing? When he talks about communication and synergy, what are we not getting right even?
Yeah, what we're not getting right is proactive measures. Security is in two forms, and the form of security we practice in Nigeria is that we go after the loss. Security is defeated when you go after the loss. Going after the loss is after the occurrence of an incident. Going after the loss is after the killings of Nigerians, burning of properties, houses. So what we need to do, we have to be proactive or proactive in this area. How are we going to be proactive? We need to set up an institutions, because it baffles me that with this high speed of insecurity now, we don't have crisis management centers, because I expected our government to have activated crisis management centers within those given states in the Northeast. Now, activating crisis management center, you bring in all the security agency in place, synergize them together as unified command control centers, so that base will be where citizens can call on and say, hey, there's an attack going on, or there's a crime in progress, or there's an attack in progress. Because it baffles me when a criminal will come, strike, succeed, and go back. He made a very valid point that he's amazed that sometimes when these guys comes, before they come, the security agency will leave the vicinity, and after the occurrence of the incident, they will not come back. Now, why is this happening? I want to believe that, yes, maybe perhaps the security guys must have gotten a tip of that these guys are coming, and they also assess their own strength, looking at their strength, and they understand that these guys that are coming in numbers, large numbers, and they will not want to die in action. So that is where fear comes to play, because the insurgents have succeeded in instilling fears on our security agencies. The battle tomb in any given war is fear. When you are scared of your enemy will succeed any day, anytime, and anywhere. So the Boko Haram, they've been provocative, they've been intimidating, protracting, and also they've exhausted our security agencies. So what the government needs to do now is to revamp the security architecture, because it's not working. It's not working. Nigerians are dying every day. The last time I was there, I told you the number we are in the Global Terrorism Index. That's right. Are you with me? Now, if we need to get things right and begin to write our names in the platter of success among giving nations, we need to also look into conflict entrepreneurs. Who are these guys sponsoring this conflict? We have people using our own money to sponsor this conflict and kill Nigerians in our own territory. We need to look at that as well, because in the past few 3, 4, 5 years or so, I've not seen any effective results arresting those conflict entrepreneurs who are in charge of these people. Then also deception also is going to be a very good one. The military should learn to be deceptive, like what the president says in the nearest time, that they are going to dissipate the Boko Haram. Sometimes when you want to carry out military actions, you need to talk less and do more. You understand what I'm saying? And last week or 2 weeks ago, I saw them displaying some 5 Tucanos that they just bought and everything. Those are threats to our national security. Are you with me? Because they need
Sorry, in the interest of time, I know that he's still on phone. So I want to say thank you very much, Bashir.
Thank you.
And please do be safe. Thanks for your time this morning and have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
All right. Also, stay with me in the studio. Yes, before I cut you off, I just wanted to let him go so you can just wrap up your thoughts.
Okay, yeah. So now what we need to do as a nation now, the international community, they are not seeing us in a good light. And Nigeria is derailing every day by day. We are going into the state of a fragile state now, because it is now, Nigeria is now in a fragile state. And I checked the fragile state index, and I'm not happy with the result there. So the government needs to put human life first, and take away any other national interest. Human interest should come first. Then the Northeast should be well coordinated, and before you know it, the security problem there will be history.
All right, thank you, Osaje. We'll take a quick break and we'll be back in a moment. Please stay with us.
Welcome to Tea Time on Plus TV Africa, where we bring you the biggest entertainment stories and, of course, analyze them for you.
You can have both parents and still end up as a useless child. I see them every day.
Most times I worry more about where I'm coming from and where I am now, and that determines my next step.
Why are you sounding like
Alibaba
now?
Plus TV Africa, we're feeling good. No time to dull, everybody feeling alright.
Still make music and people are still buying. Sometimes I look myself minimal IU.
Akpala music is for mature-minded people. I got DMs sometimes from Malawi, like,
sleeping early.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's Tea Time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Hey, what's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshuke.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely, by no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, no.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event
on Plus TV. Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
A lot of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10 years. 10 years.
When I see people today shouting, we're not too young to run, we are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
The people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom by idiots and bandits.
once you are in government, you believe everything you do is right. And once you are in opposition, everything the government does is wrong.
And so it's time for us to take over power.
Now, Russia has flatly denied allegations that it is spreading disinformation about the new coronavirus outbreak on social media. U.S. officials said Russian-linked accounts were making unfounded claims that America started the outbreak. Thousands of profiles on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram were peddling the theory, the officials said. Responding to the allegations on Saturday, the Russian Foreign Ministry dismissed them as fake. This is deliberately a false story. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova told Russia's TASS news agency. And now in the studio with me to still talk about coronavirus and all that is going on is Dr. Bwala, who is a medical practitioner. Good to have you this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Now let's continue this conversation about coronavirus. We're not starting, we're continuing it, right? We've heard a lot going on about what it is, how it is spread. Now, as at today, shall we say it's curable or how is it prevented? What are the basic things we need to know in terms of curative and preventing?
Well, in terms of prevention, we still have already spoke at length on this. Is basically increase hygiene, especially hand wash with soap and water. Avoid contact with any sick person that is suspected to be coronavirus or any related flu. And then generally, if someone is ill of any respiratory infection, the person should wear a mask and also inform the clinic or hospital that they are to go that this is the symptoms they have. And also not eat any raw meat or uncooked meat.
So as of today, does it have a cure?
Viruses in general do not have any specific cure, not just coronavirus. This is a fact that we need to know. But there are some antiviral medication known that can actually suppress the infection. For instance, this combination of a couple of antiviral medication that has shown promising efficacy in China. They also recently sent out a trial report on a trial they did with chloroquine, which has some antiviral property. But it is key for everyone to know that there is no specific cure. And all these medications, what they can do is to suppress the multiplication rate of the virus. So that will actually help the patient not to be overwhelmed by the virus and improve quick recovery. So that's a possibility. Now, the tech here for us, especially in Nigeria, because there's already a lot of posting in the social media about cure and about chloroquine. There's no specific cure, and we should not rush into using chloroquine for prevention or using certain kind of antiviral medication. That's not proper. Because remember what happened in 2014 during Ebola time. Ebola. People that actually died in Nigeria from resultant effect of taking excess salt and kola nut were actually more than the victims of Ebola in Nigeria. So you have to be careful.
So that's a good note of warning you're sounding
there. So vaccine is key. We need to, of course, there are a lot of research going on. So for most viral infections, what is key is prevention. For the long time, that's what we're looking at. But for the short time, there's this cocktail mixture of a couple of antiviral medication and the chloroquine, which is very cheap, but that's not treatment. It's not definitive treatment.
All right, let's talk about how this affects us, right? Some weeks ago, I think it's last week even, we saw pictures of Nigerians, with placards saying Nigerians trapped in Wuhan, send us home, bring us back home, and all of that. Do you think that's a good option for us? Some people have argued that, well, maybe it's not a good option. I'm asking you as an expert. And others are saying, if they say they are lacking supplies, why don't we lobby for the embassy, Nigerian embassy there to say, make sure these people have supplies and they are there and safe as opposed to coming? What are your thoughts?
Yes, our concerns are with them, at least. It's not easy to be trapped. We have a lot of people that are sending messages one-on-one that we know that are out of stuff, either food or cash. So yes, we are not prepared at the moment as a country to receive people coming in from the epicenter. That might not be very wise for the country because it is easy to import. Many of the countries struggling now, you can see Italy as an example. Most of them are only in the case whereby just one person came into the country with it. Iran has a similar situation. The countries with very robust system had 1 or 2 cases imported, and it remained at that stage. So what you mentioned about the embassy, I think, is key. Mm-hmm. It is important for Nigeria to invest via the embassy and give good support to all the people there. And that is also important because anytime we go out, we actually, when we live somewhere, we're supposed to register with the embassy so they will know all the people there. Mm-hmm. There are very few visitors from the list they have, but all those living or studying in Wuhan are known. They have contact with the embassy. They are chatting, but I don't have any information if they are receiving any support. And that will be very, very important because the amount of money we will spend in setting up the unit to receive them here, as well as transporting them, if they invested in the embassy, it will go a long way.
Mm-hmm. Now, having said that, since we are talking about trying to clarify doubts and fake news, one of the things we also heard last week is the fact that, because we are Africans, there are some, because of African genetic makeup, Africans are likely not to be affected by this. Though we had a case of one person in Egypt, again, which they say is not an African. Is it true that Africans are completely and totally free from the possibility of being, in fact, affected by this? We're not saying we should, but we just need to get it right.
Well, there's just one case, one isolated case. And in medicine, it's not wise to make a decision with just one case. One of the doctors that treated a patient from Cameroon in China did state that he improved quickly and was not overwhelmed by the virus. The symptoms were mild, so he thought probably that there's some kind of genetic constitution that might help with fight against the virus. But that's too early to talk on, and I don't think it's something we should dwell on.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so very much, Dr. Bala, for your time this morning and for leaving us more informed. We'll continue with the news. Security operatives on Saturday barred protesting youths from getting close to the convoy of National Chairman of the All Progressive Congress, Comrade Adams Oshomole. The National Chairman was in Benin to attend burial ceremony of the mother of Honorable Ehiozowa Agbonyima, late Cecilia Agbonyima. Heavily armed security personnel were mobilized to the Benin airport following reports that youths were at the airport to boo Oshomole. The youths chanted anti-Oshomole songs and used other unprintable words. Some APC chieftains who refused to be named accused Governor Godwin Obaseki for the activities of the youths. Responding, the Edo State government said it has nothing to do with the booing of a former governor of the state, Adams Oshomole. In a statement, Special Advisor to the Governor of Media and Communication Strategy, Crusoe Osage, said the Edo State government has no connection with the crowd that was reported to have booed Comrade Oshomole. And joining us live via telephone is Anselm Ojezwa, APC chairman of Edo State, to talk about this matter. Good morning, Mr. Ojezwa.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us this morning. So we go straight to the point. Edo State has been in the news for almost all the wrong reasons, for lack of a better word. What do you make of these arguments between Oshomole and Obaseki and the people of Edo State?
Well, it's a very unfortunate situation that we have found ourselves. And the only comment one can make at this point is that the whole thing has been so poorly mismanaged. And what you see now is the result of arrogance, impunity, and perhaps an inflated ego of those concerned.
Right. Both sides have accused each other of using thugs to, attack or disrupt activities. Sometimes it comes from this end and the other end. Now, the question generally is, how do we get to a point where, politics in Nigeria, not just Edo State, but generally speaking, would be devoid of the use of thugs?
Well, it has become a norm. Just look around you. Unfortunately, you have to understand that not every crowd of people who come to express themselves should be referred to as thugs. There are people who have very strong feelings about any issue. They reserve the right to come out and speak. It is their conduct that will determine whether they should be referred to as thugs or not. So I think you need to make that distinction. People have a right to express themselves. Sometimes they don't even have to be organized by anybody. If they feel strongly on any issue, they will come out and say so. So this has been very typical of Edo State right from 2008 to date.
Ideally, you want to see a collaboration between leaders, and those who have served the people in almost the same capacity. Now we're talking about, Oshomole at some point as the governor of the state, and Obaseki, who is currently the governor of that state. Why are we not seeing this collaboration between these two?
Well, I think clearly those who should provide leadership have actually joined the fray, and now we are looking for people from outside the state to arbitrate. Unfortunately, I just have to put this on the doorstep of Oshomole because he was the undisputed leader. Now he is supervising the dismemberment and the instability of the party in the state when he should be the one putting everybody together. So he has to take responsibility. It's just a pity that it has degenerated to this level. Unfortunately, I also have to say that the leadership at the national level left it a bit too late. This situation should not have been allowed to fester to this point. If they had nipped it in the bud, we probably would have gotten a better result. Let me also add that when Oshomole was governor for 8 years, he was not a perfect person. Those who did not support him at least tolerated him. Why can he not extend the same level of understanding with his successor who he helped to get into office? Why would he want to destroy that by which he himself benefited? These are the issues, and it's really unfortunate.
Now that we're talking about party, we understand that there are two factions of the APC in Edo State. Which one is the authentic one, so to speak? Which one do we recognize as the authentic one, for lack of a better word?
Of course, there is no faction. I am the state chairman of APC in Edo State. I went for Congress. What you see there, the pretenders you see claiming to be another faction, is a creation of Oshomole. So he is the one who will answer your question. He foisted this situation on us. APC in Edo State is intact. Majority of the state executive members are with me. Majority of the local government chairmen, 15 out of 18, are with me. Majority of the state working committee, they are with me. Oshomole is playing God. It is only the Almighty God that will say one with God is majority, not one with Oshomole. He is using a miserable lot to come and create instability in Edo State. And I can tell you that he will get the result in full measure. He cannot avoid responsibility.
All right, having said that, now what is the way forward in terms of achieving peace for both the people and, these leaders who should be leading by example, as you agree?
The way forward is for Oshomole to allow Obaseki to do his job. If you look at all they have said throughout this period, not one of them has said Obaseki is not performing as a governor. Nobody has complained that the citizens of Edo State are not happy with Obaseki. So what is the problem? That he's not sharing the patrimony, to individuals to satisfy their greed. But it's this same Oshomole who told us that the resources of state is enough to meet the need of the people, but not the greed of the leaders. Should Obaseki continue to service the leaders at the expense of the people of Edo State? This is the issue. So the way forward is for Oshomole to allow Obaseki to do his job. He has a job at the national level. Let him concentrate on his job.
All right, thank you so very much, Mr. Ojezwa, for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. And we will take a quick break. The news will continue after this break. Stay with us.
Almost every Nigerian wants to leave the country, but do they understand what it means to be a global citizen?
The reason why people were leaving Nigeria 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and even until now, is essentially because they want to survive. Movement is a human duty, right? You have to move. Part of the biggest problem in Nigeria is we produce what we don't consume, and we consume what we don't produce. There's no economy in the world that can survive on that equation. The idea of running away to another country, undocumented, hiding, compromising your dignity, take baser positions in those societies, marry people you hate, hibernate all your life, dwarf your most important dreams and aspirations, take a compromise in the name of the pursuit of economics, embrace toil, otherwise called hustle, and lose your meaning and your purpose totally. You will play the majority game pretending to be happy, but you'll be sad and miserable for the rest of your life. So my goal, my thinking is that instead of thinking relocation, we should think penetration.
Welcome to Tea Time on Plus TV Africa, where we bring you the biggest entertainment stories and, of course, analyze them for you.
You can have both parents and still end up as a useless child. I see them every day.
Most times I worry more about where I'm coming from and where I am now, and that determines my next step.
Why are you sounding like
Alibaba
now?
Plus TV Africa, we're feeling good. No time to dull, everybody feeling alright.
Make music and people are still buying. Sometimes I look myself minimal IU.
Akpala music is for mature-minded people. I got DMs sometimes from Malawi, like,
sleeping early.
A lot of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10 years.
When I see people today shouting, we're not too young to run, we are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
The people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom by idiots and bandits.
Once you are in government, you believe everything you do is right. And once you are in opposition, everything the government does is wrong.
And so it's time for us to take over power.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's Tea Time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Now, the first ever Miss Deaf Beauty Pageant Nigeria took place on the 1st of November 2019 and featured 15 participants from across Nigeria, and it was a huge success. Take a look.
We are all about ability. We want you to look beyond what you perceive as disability and actually see the beauty, the strength, the grace, the talent, and every other beautiful thing that makes up a human being.
So this is like a kind of awareness for people to know what is going on in the deaf community.
Seeing all these girls and celebrating them, just like any other beauty pageant, was just out of this world to me.
The first ever Miss Deaf Beauty Pageant in Nigeria, celebrating diversity, encouraging inclusion, and promoting ability, airs on Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
And with me in the studio is Uri Ngozi Chukwuka, who is the founder of Empathy Driven Women International Initiative, EDWIN, and that's the NGO for women with disabilities. Good to have you.
Thank you very much. I'm very delighted to.
Big thing you organized there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
What inspired this? Okay. Let's start from there.
Okay, let me say that I work with women with disabilities. The Miss Deaf Beauty Pageant, I didn't register. It was some other group of people that registered it, and they had tried for like 10 years to, to organize it, but they couldn't. So I have actually been working for years with women with disabilities, and I've trained a lot of deaf women. I've traveled all over the country training them. We've done medical outreaches to them. We've, done all kinds of great things, like working with the United Nations SDGs. We are inclusion advocates. And so we advocate for them to be fully and totally included and integrated into the society. And so I was introduced, to the people that had registered this, that had struggled with it for years. And when I looked at it, I was like, well, this is part of what I'm doing as well. And so I threw, my weight behind it, and I had fantastic and wonderful women who were like, wow, Uri, this is great, let's do this together. And so, most importantly, I also, because some of the things I teach the women is about self-confidence, and because there's a lot that goes on in the deaf community, there's a lot that goes on with women with disabilities actually in general. And self-confidence is really, really, very rare. So I talk to them about self-improvement, self-confidence, and even personal defense. It's all, because I believe also in their mental health, and bringing it all together. So, so this particular pageant, when I looked at it, I said, like, this is so great because the girls will be confident, and the girls, will get to appreciate how beautiful and how great they are. Sure. It's also an opportunity to show the world that, hey, beyond their disability, look beyond that and see how beautiful and how great these girls are, and give them the same opportunities that you would give beautiful girls in the society as well. So yeah, so that's it. That's how we came about it. That's how, you saw what you saw. Yeah. And it was really beautiful.
I agree completely with you. Before I ask you to talk more about the deaf community, now speak to us generally about, working with women with disabilities. We hear a lot of people who do that, but particularly you are working with women with disabilities. So speak to us about that.
Okay. Now, working with women with disability is very personal to me and very surreal. Now, let me not go into my personal story, but I want to say this. United Nations say that there's one woman out of 5 women, experience violence. But for the woman with disability, or for women with disabilities, it's like 3 women out of 5 women. So the rate of violence is really, really very high. And then we live in a world where, women are looked as, I don't want to, well, maybe for want of a better expression, a lot of societies, discriminate against the woman. And now when she's living with a disability, it is a double jeopardy that she's living with a disability. However, working with these women, I see women who are strong. I see women who are talented. I see women who have ambition, who have dreams. When my first interaction with them was more like, we don't want pity, right? We want you to see that there are things that we can do. I have a lady who is so bright and so intelligent, and she's supposed to be in a wheelchair, but at a point she was, in the school that she taught, she was the best science teacher. I have one who has been a tennis champion. She's on wheelchair. She's a tennis champion for years. I have the ones that can't hear, but they're going ahead, they're doing their master's degrees. You understand? So working with women with disabilities was a huge eye-opener for me. I realized that they are still very, very resilient. They are women and they want to do things. They want to have children. There are women with disabilities, you know, like with a lot of them have children. A lot of them actually are like single mothers. And people are like, how do they have children when they can't, you know, they have disabilities? And I ask a simple question. When you're crippled, how do you run when you're about to be raped? When you're deaf and dumb, how do you scream when you're being raped? Or when you're blind, how do you see who's coming to rape you? Because the rate of rape, you know, amongst women with disabilities is much higher, you know, than just women that don't live with any kind of disabilities. So you see that a lot of them are single mothers, right? And so, you know, like my advocacy has always been, well, we are an inclusive society, sort of, but let us do, you know, let's put our mouth where our money is, or let us walk the talk, and not just talk, you know. And so let's create an inclusive society. If there are beauty pageants out there, why don't we have, you know, Miss Albinism? I work with persons with albinism. Why don't we have Miss Down syndrome? Why don't we have Miss Autism? Why don't we celebrate the beauty in these girls? Now, not just physical beauty. If you watch that pageant, you could see that they had dreams, aspirations. They had so much they wanted to give the society. Why not we begin to harness, you know, the beauty within, you know, this, you know, diverse, you know, set of, you know, group of people?
All right, I must say thank you. We want to keep you here, but for want of time, we must say, you know, thank you very much for celebrating the strength in disability. I'm sure we'll call you back again, especially on the 8th of March to talk about this again.
Yes, and on the 7th of March, we have a reach out for the women with disabilities, for medical reach out as well.
All right, okay, thank you so very much,
Thank
Uri.
you.
And that's our news roundup of events at this hour. For more news updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember, as always, to subscribe to our YouTube channel, which is at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back again with more stories making the headlines. Join us again. I am Amaka Okoye.
What is happening right now took over 300 years to manifest, and it's not going to take overnight to get it sorted out. People don't really understand the consequences of the actions, of burning waste, or cutting down trees. They don't really understand it. They don't believe, oh, you're attacking the environment. They don't know that ripple effect is coming.
Yeah.
It's affecting security, affecting agriculture, everything in the country.
I don't think in schools they teach climate change as a course. So a lot of kids are graduating and they don't even know.
If you go to Niger Delta today, apart from the suit that is covered, you might not be getting the effects of climate change as you get it in Lagos. That is not flaring gas. Whatever you do in Nigeria might not be felt in Nigeria. Yeah. So we have to think as our brother's keeper. What you are doing in Nigeria might be felt in Indonesia. If we all claim to be climate change enthusiasts, how much have we tried to cut down our carbon emissions?
Country people, we dey thank una one that joined us on top News on the Hour for Plus TV Africa.
This na number 63 Massey Street for Itafaji, where building just collapsed by 10 a.m. this morning.
They say the Oga of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, don't tell federal government say if they provoke him, it go cause wahala for inside the country.
Because if the British citizen no be say you go enter Nigeria, come cause kasala, run go Britain, go stay in peace.
Them say na the diesel truck catch fire as they try offload the diesel way dey inside. Come out, fire department come try quench the fire.
For the first time for Nigeria, every will enjoy television news for Ogbonge Pidgin English.
For more tori, make una kukuma follow us at Plus TV Africa on top Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make una subscribe to our YouTube page and for Star Times on channel 308.
Welcome to Tea Time on Plus TV Africa, where we bring you the biggest entertainment stories and, of course, analyze them for you.
You can have both parents and still end up as a useless child. I see them every day.
Most times I worry more about where I'm coming from and where I am now, and that determines my next step.
Why are you sounding like
Alibaba
now?
Plus TV Africa, we're feeling good. No time to dull, everybody feeling alright.
I really like you.
I can still make music and people are still buying. Sometimes I look myself minimal IU.
Akpala music is for mature-minded people. I got DMs sometimes from Malawi, like,
Sleeping early.
Seize it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's Tea Time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
A lot of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10 years.
10 years.
When I see people today shouting, we're not too young to run, we are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
The people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom.
Many thanks for joining us on News on the Arm Plus TV Africa. Here are the stories making the headlines, and I am Amaka Ukwe. Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project SERAP and 192 concerned Nigerians have filed a lawsuit asking the Federal High Court in Abuja to restrain and stop Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and all members of the House from spending an estimated 5.04 billion naira to buy 400 exotic cars from principal officers and members. SERAP is also seeking a court order to restrain and stop the National Assembly Service Commission from releasing any public funds to the House of Representatives to buy 400 Toyota Camry 2020 model cars estimated to cost $35,130 each until an impact assessment of the spending on access to public services and goods like education, security, health and clean water is carried out. On 5th February, the House of Reps passed a resolution that 400 Toyota Camry 2020 cars be purchased as official vehicles for 360 members and other persons, including top management staff, chief of staff to the two presiding officers, as well as some of their special advisors and assistants. In a statement on Sunday by Kolawole Uluwadare, who is also Deputy Director of SERAP, the plaintiffs also maintained that it is illegal and unconstitutional for members of the House of Representatives to choose to buy expensive and exotic cars while encouraging Nigerians to tighten their belts and to patronize Nigerian brands. And stay with me in the studio is Dixon Osaji to make sense of all of this matter. Really, should we be having this conversation? If the House of, those who look up to are doing what they ask us not to, why are they not going for Made in Nigeria, by the way? Yes.
Why are they not going for Made in Nigeria, right?
Yes.
You see, SERAP are doing a very good job, and until we begin to see politics as service to the nation, we will not get things right, because most of these guys that get into power, and that's why we have a high state of insecurity. Because most of them, what they do is that they just want to get into power, enrich themselves, enrich their families, and hey, smell the coffee all the time, you know, and they don't care about the survival of the state. They don't care about the survival of this great nation. Now, putting in billions of naira, $35,000 to get a car, a jeep, or whatever the case may be, is worrisome. We have made in Nigerian vehicles, and you are in the Senate, in the Rep. You are deliberating on our behalf. We sent you guys there to go and boost our economy, to go and ensure we have a social stability, to go and also ensure we have a good space of security. And all of a sudden, you people kept on putting energy, because what they do is that they energetically deliberate on their own self-enrichment, which is criminal. Because one of the reasons why security has deteriorated in this country was because, as at last year, you saw the state in which Nigerians were being induced by these politicians to carry out criminal acts. You know, in Kogi State, you saw a lady that was killed, a woman party leader, or what the case may be, in Bayelsa State, Port Harcourt, all over the state. And when I smelled the happenings then, I knew that Nigeria is moving into a fragile state, because it is now we're in a fragile state. You understand? At any given time, anything that is considered fragile can be broken at any given time.
That's right.
So what really went wrong is that our politicians fail to understand that each time you contributed to the state of insecurity, you are crediting the account of insecurity. Because as time goes on, Nigeria will begin to have security issues. So this development now will make the guys on the street and say, hey, these guys are eating billions of naira. We send them there to go and serve us. They are enriching themselves. And the Nigerian people also want to enrich themselves through criminal acts, terrorism, kidnapping. And that is why I see kidnapping is taking a boom now, because these guys felt that, hey, when I seize a fellow human being like me, I'm going to make millions of naira. And the kidnap market is making a boom. You understand? Because, you know, at the arrest of Evans, the situation was not well managed. You know, the spate of kidnapping then was minimal. You understand? Because people like Evans, we call them high net worth kidnapping, because we have various spades of kidnapping. We have the express kidnappers, we have the high net worth kidnappers. We even have political kidnapping. You know, when you put somebody in detention in a number of times that exceed the legal states, that's a political kidnapping. So now, what is happening in the Federal House of Assembly now and in the Senate now is contributing to the spate of insecurity. You understand? Because the citizens are not happy, and we have a lot of Nigerians who are jobless. We have a lot of people who don't have helpmates. We have a lot of people who are roaming around the streets, because we are not even looking at developing the youth. Because when you look into statistics, we have over 20 to 30 million unemployed youth in Nigeria, and that is what we call psychological murder. You know, when youth suffers from psychological murder, the enemy's offer is a welcome development. That's right. Hey, the state cannot give me what I want. The enemy come and say, hey, and that is what the Boko Haram are using to succeed. Persuasion. You understand? Because until we begin to match their strategies with our own strategies, their tactical applications with our own tactical applications, we will not get things right. So the spate of insecurity will continue to increase if our leaders continue to enrich themselves, because the citizens will say, hey, you don't care about us, then we don't care about the state, because that's where social contract comes to play. In social contract, I'm going to give you lights, the citizens, I'm going to give you employment, I'm going to give you security, and in turns, be a good citizen, support the development of the state, make sure Nigeria is a better place. So the social contract between the government and the citizen has been breached with these developments.
Yeah. Now, having said that, I like the way Sarah put it there, you know, mentioning that this is public funds. Essentially, it means that you and I, and of course other Nigerians who pay their taxes, we're the ones who are funding all of this. And then we have Nigerians who are living in very deplorable conditions. What stops, you know, these leaders from channeling some of these funds? Because if we invest in Made in Nigeria, maybe, just maybe, some of those funds can go into slum areas like Ajegule and all those places, and, you know, liberate people who are really in abject poverty.
You see, the budget they're allocating for this, for the purchase of this vehicle, if you go to some country, I think it's part of their national budget. That is criminal. That is unpatriotic. You know, you see, one of the reasons why I love the national anthem is that there's a phrase that says, "The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain." But in this 21st century, our present leaders are working so hard to ensure that the labor of our heroes past are in vain. Are you with me? And that is very, very unfortunate, because a lot of people put their lives on the line for the survival of the state. A lot of soldiers are dying every day. Police people are dying every day. Security agencies are dying every day to uphold the territorial integrity of this great nation. And that is why sometimes when we want our security agency to imbibe in what we call territorial integrity, territorial behavior, that is to say holding the territory, not allowing the enemy to take over the territory, you need to also, if these funds are projected, imagine you are serving us under air condition, well taken care of, you are in the house, you are well paid, and you are locating such kind of billions. Now, what about the man that is in the front line? The soldiers that is engaging the enemy, not to get at you in that house. Because the way things are going now is that it's also going to dissipate the morale of these soldiers. You know, the soldiers in the front line, they receive informations too. A lot of people are going out of the force now because, as the last time I checked, I saw a lot of young soldiers leaving the force. Like me, I joined the army when I was 19 years old. Are you with me? I served pretty few years, and I say, hey, this system is not a system I am going to continue with, because our current leaders and our previous leaders are ensuring and working so hard that the labor of our heroes past is going to continuously be in vain. So what I will also advise our government is that they should look at leadership as a point of taking care of the citizens, the people, not themselves. Sacrificial leadership, that's what we need in Nigeria. We need sacrificial leadership, influential leadership, you know, because if you, it's not all about you being there or sitting in power. How are you going to influence the people? If you are a leader and your leadership is not influential, you're not a leader, you're just on top by privilege. So our leaders should look into population, look into development, put in most of these funds. If you come to Lagos, there are some areas in Lagos that are underdeveloped. Go to part of the north, the IDP camps, some like what happened in Adamawa of recent. They should have carried out a damage assessment of that incident. After carrying out a damage assessment, project these funds to develop those states. That is where take, hold, and rebuild. Because when the military take over the territory from the enemy, the police hold the territory, then our National Orientation Agency will come and rebuild. If we don't have a strategic security applications to pursue the state of insecurity, we will not get this right, because we are just following the state of insecurity as it is. So our leaders must remember that a lot of people pay the price for Nigerians to survive today.
Thank you so very much. We'll continue with you again very shortly. Now, House of Representatives Committee on Defense has paid a visit to the theater of Operation Lapi Adole Madugri Cantonment to have a foresight of the challenges facing soldier fighting insurgents. The House Committee was led by Baba Jimmy Benson, who pledged their full commitment to support the Nigerian Army in the cause of fighting terrorists in the Northeast by providing more equipment and manpower. Baba Jimmy, during the interview, made it known that the insurgent war which Nigeria is facing, it's not emanating only from Nigeria, but external hands are also involved. He revealed dislodged terrorists from Libya play many roles in supporting Boko Haram terrorizing Nigeria and neighboring country. The theater commander, Major General Olusegun Adeniyi, briefed the committee on the operation.
On television and on radio and on newspapers, all the interest of every segment of Nigeria about this operation. We thank them, we thank all of you for seeing to it that things must move forward. It's a collective duty, and we are proud everybody is behind us. And like I said, I will be giving you a briefing, and by God's grace, I believe this security in Nigeria will soon be a thing of the past by God's grace.
Indeed, Borno has to regain its title, which is the land of peace. So we're going here, we're going to meet the National Assembly again and do things within the shortest possible time to bring back peace to this very peaceful state. Stabilization effect in Libya, that has caused a lot of chaos along this corridor. Borno being a state that is close to our neighboring states has been the epicenter of this insurgency. We've had their challenges, they do have challenges. The armed forces is understaffed. So that's what we're going to ensure that people are immediately recruited and trained so that they can man this geographical space and also properly equipped. So that's what we're going to do. We also need to talk to sister states, sister countries to help assist police this area.
Between March 2019 to date, we have experienced horrific and spontaneous attacks throughout the state. As I told the General Commander, we are experiencing such attacks in a quick geometrical ratio. And therefore, I pleaded to Mr. President as well as the Nigerian military to revisit the strategy that they did during the 2016-2017, that we have almost celebrated the demise of the Boko Haram. So that we can end the insurgency. One most important thing that we need to do is to take the fight into their enclaves. The whereabouts of the Boko Haram is known to almost all of us. It's known to the people of Borno State, it's known to the Nigerian military, it's known to all of us. Indeed, the community are sharing information to the best of my knowledge.
All right, I still have with me Dixon Osaje in the studio to respond very quickly to that clip. Now, I'm going to ask you two questions in one. First of all, is what the conversation we were having earlier when you talked about the welfare of soldiers. So I need you to talk about how well are we taking care of our men, who are always in the forefront. And then secondly, you had that conversation where they mentioned that the war against Boko Haram is not just internally. We're not just faced by the threat of Boko Haram internally. We also have external people who are infiltrating the country in terms of the security issues. What are your thoughts? Okay,
looking at the motivations of our soldiers, the motivation is very, very low. And that is why we need to look into the Shell acronym. In any given war, there's what we call the Shell acronym. There are 4 things involved. We have the software, we have the hardware, we have the environment, then we have the liveware. So this Shell acronym makes a full-blown war or full-blown enemy engagement. Now the liveware, which is the soldier in the front line, we're not concentrating on that because sometimes our government keeps saying they want to spend in millions on equipment, spending billions on software. That's not the issue. The liveware is going to man the software and the hardware. So we need to put in more money for the liveware because a soldier in the front line now, the maximum allowance he takes in a session of his salary is about 45,000 naira. Bringing it to a day, 1,500 naira in a day. Bringing it to an hour, 342 naira. Now, if the enemy's attack comes now and this soldier have to engage the enemy for 2-3 hours, if he fights for 2 hours, maybe he will be paid 640 naira to engage the enemy. That cannot get him a complete launch. So that is where the spirit of morale lies because they need to start paying these guys very well in the front line. And also the area of motivations. What's your second question again? Yeah, the second one is the threat of Boko Haram. The threat of Boko Haram. Yes, Nigeria by default is a country naturally under threat because when you look around the country governing us, they are all Francophone speaking country. Nigeria is the only country sitting within these 5 countries from east, west, south, and north. We are surrounded by Francophone speaking country. That is a geographical threat naturally on its own. Now our borders are porous. We are not paying more attention on our immigration service to take care of our borders. We need to lock up our borders. And that is why I was so amazed and surprised by the government of the day to have granted the visa regime. When you know that our border is porous. A few weeks back, I saw some video about millions of people falling into Nigeria, coming into our ungoverned spaces, taking charge of our governed spaces, and that is increasing the spirit of insecurity. One, the government needs to shut down that visa regime. Close that application. Is not working because we have not gotten, we've not got things right. Until we get things right before we open that visa regime that is coming to Nigeria and get your visa. But we are faced with high spirit of insecurity. The visa regime should be shut down. Otherwise, Nigeria will experience a high spirit of insecurity. Then border security, our immigration should be encouraged and should be motivated. Give them drones to patrol the ungoverned space because we have 2 types of migrants: the regular and irregular migrants. That's right. The irregular migrants are people who don't have visas. The enemies will take vulnerability of our borders loopholes. So the federal government should lock up our borders, then motivate our soldiers financial-wise, and the billions they want to use in buying these vehicles, they should split it to our soldiers fighting the Boko Haram. Then Nigeria will be a better place. Thank you so very much, Dixon Osaje, for your thoughts there. And the news will continue after the short break. We'll be back in a moment. Stay with us.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all.
We're a bit too selfish when it comes to, you know, the climate and the society. And I think eventually Earth is going to say, you know what, I'm done.
Climate change, especially what we're experiencing now, some of them, I mean, most of them is actually man-made.
Climate change is both ways. It is natural occurrences that leads to climate change. We might be positive. And there are human activities.
So these days we have investors trying to say, oh, if you are not practicing sustainable days or climate smart technology, we're not going to invest.
The state is supposed to manage the local government to deal with our waste. Anywhere in the world, the local government
has the power
manage the waste because they are closer to the people.
Yes. The evidence of human-made climate change is overwhelming.
You're still watching news on the hour here on Plus TV Africa. On the African, since Togo's President Faure Gnassingbé has won the re-election with 72% of the votes, according to the preliminary results from the Electoral Commission on Monday, extending his 15-year rule and a family dynasty that began when his father took power in 1967 in a coup. Despite widespread disaffection and protests calling for him to step down, a fractured opposition has struggled to launch a converted campaign to unseat Gnassingbé in the small West African country of about 8 million people. That will be it on the African Sense. Coming up next, here's the foreign news. On the foreign scenes, violent clashes erupted in the Haitian capital on Sunday, with shots being fired until late at night as police stepped up their protest over pay and conditions. The clashes were the most violent since the police started protesting at the end of last year as the impoverished Caribbean island nation struggles with the prolonged economic and political crisis. The Haitian government issued a statement late Sunday strongly condemning the violence, calling it an attack against freedom and democracy, noting that it was difficult to assess the scope of the violence. Now, still on the foreign scenes, Russia has flatly denied allegations that it's spreading disinformation about the new coronavirus outbreak on social media. U.S. officials said Russian-linked accounts were making unfounded claims that America started the outbreak. Thousands of profiles on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram were peddling the theory, the officials said. Responding to the allegations on Saturday, the Russian Foreign Ministry dismissed them as fake. This is a deliberately false story, Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova told Russia's TASS news agency. That's it on the foreign scenes. Coming up next is the business news.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways. It is important to be a global citizen at the same time appreciate different people, cultures, and different ways of life. That's from the right now. One of my sons is currently in Tinapa, Calabar on a school
From
trip.
school.
So what they do when they're in year 7, they go to Obudukatu Ranch, they go to Tinapa, they've been taking them all over the places.
2 runways at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos have now been calibrated for the Category 3 instrument landing system and is now safe for landing. So what had happened earlier in the week was that international flight had to be diverted. They couldn't
Ghana.
Have you ever had to stay in the
hospital for some few days to tend to someone who is ill?
Yes.
Is the hardest job
It's
ever.
a lot of work.
Your life practically stops. Recently, I got close to someone I knew when he was in his heydays.
Wow.
When I saw him, I was shocked. I said, so this is what stroke is.
You will be thankful for good health.
Definitely.
Oh my.
A lot of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10 years.
When I see people today shouting, we're not too young to run, we are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
The people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom by idiots and bandits.
Once you are in government, you believe
believe everything you do is right. And once you are in opposition, everything the government does is wrong.
And so it's time for us to take over power.
And in business, a former director of the Budgetary Department, Central Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Titus Okunromu, has advised the federal government to explore the full potentials of mechanized farming to check rising inflation rate in the country. Titus gave the advice in an interview in Ota, Ogun on Sunday. The National Bureau of Statistics had on Monday announced that the inflation rate increased from 11.98% in December to 12.13% in January. The financial experts stressed the need for the federal government to embrace mechanized farming so as to reduce the continuous rise in the inflation rate in the country. Nigerian economy depends heavily on rain to plant its crops, thus making prices of goods to be cheaper during this period. But during the dry season, prices of goods are higher because there is no rain to plant, and this triggers rise in the nation's inflation, he said. And that's it. Also, a news roundup of events at this hour. For more news updates, please remember to follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back again with more stories making the headlines. Join us again. I am Amaka Okoye saying have yourselves a great day.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all.
We're a bit too selfish when it comes to, the climate and the society. And I think eventually Earth is going to say, you know what, I'm done.
Climate change, especially what we're experiencing now, some of them, most of them is actually man-made.
Climate change is both ways. It is natural occurrences that leads to climate change. We might be positive. And there are human activities.
So these days we have investors trying to say, well, if you are not practicing sustainable days or climate smart technology, we're not going to invest.
The state is supposed to manage the local government to deal with our waste. Anywhere in the world, the local government
has the power to
manage the waste because they are closer to the people.
Yes. The evidence of human-made climate change is overwhelming.
First point of accountability is asking questions.
Hello and welcome to Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. I am Udoka Njoko.
Hi everyone, welcome to Plus Training.
You cannot continue to recycle poverty while you're spending a lot of money on unproductive ventures.
The government has to feel the impact.
Honorable Commissioner, sir, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye.
Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Events is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely, by no question. He's a living legend. Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, no.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity.
No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
A lot of the jobs that exist today will not exist in the next 10 years.
10 years.
When I see people today shouting, we're not too young to run, we are ready to run. Ready to run to where?
that people of excellence are, to a certain extent, being held ransom by idiots and bandits.
Once you are in government, you believe everything you do is right. And once you are in opposition, everything the government does is wrong.
And so it's time for us to take over power.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Welcome to Tea Time on Plus TV Africa, where we bring you the biggest entertainment stories and, of course, analyze them for you.
You can have both parents and still end up as a useless child. I see them every day.
Most times I worry more about where I'm coming from and where I am now. Wow. And that determines my next step.
Why are you sounding like
Alibaba
now?
Plus TV Africa, we're feeling good. No time to dull, everybody feeling alright.
I really like you. I can still make music and people are still buying. Sometimes I look myself minimal IU.
Akpala music is for mature-minded people. I got DMs sometimes from Malawi, like,
sleeping early.
Country people, we dey thank una one that joined us on top news on the hour for Plus TV Africa.
This na number 63 Massey Street for Itafaji, where building just collapsed by 10 a.m. this morning.
They say the Oga of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, don't tell federal government say if they provoke him, it go cause wahala for inside the country.
Because if the British citizen no be say you go enter Nigeria, come cause kasala, run go Britain, go stay in peace.
Them say na the diesel truck catch fire as they try offload the diesel way dey inside. Come out, fire department come try quench the fire.
For the first time for Nigeria, every go enjoy television news for Ogbonge Pidgin English.
For more tori, make una kukuma follow us at Plus TV Africa on top Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Make una subscribe to our YouTube page and for Star Times on channel 308.
Almost every Nigerian wants to leave the country, but do they understand what it means to be a global citizen?
The reason why people were leaving Nigeria 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and even till now, is essentially because they want to survive. Movement is a human duty.
dwarf your most important dreams and aspirations. Take a compromise in the name of the pursuit of economics. Embrace toil, otherwise called hustle, and lose your meaning and your purpose totally. You will play the majority game pretending to be happy, or you'll be sad and miserable for the rest of your life. So